I don't know how I'm going to be able to do it, guys. I do not think I'm qualified to do this because, in my opinion, if you're going to talk about the absolute strongest character in One Punch Man, if you're going to talk about King, then you need to have the height and build of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at a minimum. At a minimum. That's the only way that you're going to even be able to convey the sheer level of pure testosterone oozing forth from this great specimen. Getting preparations for this video, I had a task that I needed to complete. I needed to find the most weeby, otaku, shirt possible in my collection. Now, you'd think for me that would be easy, but this was honestly the biggest one I had, right? Like, right here, right? That's like the weebiest thing I have. And then I discovered that I remembered something, part of my past that I kind of just shoved to the side, but, and it took a while for me to dig this out. I hope you guys appreciate this, okay? This is an anime called Lucky Star. Did anyone ever watch that? I went through a phase in high school, and as you can see, it's like covered in dust, like it was buried in my closet. It took me a while to dig it out, but I remember that getting this box set came with a special shirt that I never thought I would wear, and thought, like, once again, I would just shove it in my closet, never hear from it again, but there's a time for everything, and talking about King, that time is now, so I'll be right back. What do you think? Do I make it work? Okay, so, King! Rank 7 S-Class hero. Actually, he started off the story rank 6, but after the events of the meteor about to crash down on the planet and Metal Knight helping to evade that crisis, well, we all know who evaded that crisis, but with Metal Knight just being there, his rank actually got bumped up from 7 to 6, so King and him switched. So now King is currently the rank 7 hero. Now remember, the ranking in the Hero Association doesn't just go strictly by strength. Okay, that's not the only factor there, because as far as all the other S-Class heroes and the general public at large is aware, King is the absolute strongest hero that the Hero Association has to offer. He's known as the Earth's strongest fighter, and yet he's S rank 7, so some of you might get confused, well, if he's the strongest, why is he ranked 7? And I think that's because, there's always popularity, like, for example, Bang is really connected to the martial arts field, and he's seen as, like, the great master of martial arts, so everybody's kind of getting on his side with that. Atomic Samurai, I mean, come on, he's cool. Child Emperor is really popular with, like, the kid demographics, so that's why they're a little bit higher. But as far as brute strength is concerned, King is the strongest. As for Blast, and I'm not going to do a video on Blast because Blast is just such an unknown at this point. I did like a little video about him last year, but that was pretty much it. I think the only reason Blast is there, even though they really don't have a way to contact him, is more just for like a figurehead, a position, like the last resort, the trump card. Like even if you're going to try to attack the Hero Association, even if the whole thing is decimated, we still have our last trump card, who's S rank 1, and that is Blast. But Blast doesn't really, show up all that often, or really at all. Now, the thing with King that I just found freaking hilarious, the thing that just really did take me for a loop, not what I was expecting at all, and this is the last time I'm going to throw out spoilers. There was a warning at the beginning, but this is the last warning I'm giving you, okay? Because this is going beyond, the first season of the anime. It should be, like, within the first episode of the next season, though. But just to throw it out there, King is a total fraud. He's total fake. He is this massive weeaboo otaku that's way into anime and manga and video games. Not even like, I'm playing Breath of the Wild right now. Actually, I just got Pokken Tournament today, but not even, he's into that kind of stuff, but he's also into, like, the dating sim kind of game. Just look up any generic weeaboo stereotype in anime or something like that, and you'll have King, basically. Goes around wearing, anime t-shirts, kind of very similar to this, a lot of times throughout the story. And yet, he has this really imposing, persona that he has. That's just the way he looks. That's just funny how he has this really intimidating look. He's got the scar scars on his face, which were actually caused by a monster attack that he was saved by Saitama during his training days. There was this giant octopus thing with claws. It was a rather weak monster. It wasn't like he got this from like a god level threat or anything. There was just this monster with claws, attack King, cut his face a little bit, and Saitama showed up, beat the crap out of it during his training, and they just kind of went on their way. And so basically the deal, what happened though, the strange turn of events, is that all of the great, like, threats that Saitama averted, like when he was fighting against Beefcake, you know, that giant that, like, crushed City B, that, like, his brother created, that serum that turned him into a giant. Like, how do you miss that thing? And how do you miss the person that destroyed it, that killed the thing in one hit? You know? So it's finding out, like, the public was aware that it was defeated in one shot by somebody, but they didn't know it was Saitama. It just so happened that King was at those locations every single time Saitama defeated a really strong opponent, and then he got all the acclaim. He was like, oh, this guy was here, and he looks so badass. I mean, look at his hair, look at the scars, he's so an intimidating figure. He must be the one that was taking out these monsters. So, with only that information, without the Hero Association looking into this at all, without them judging his physical, like, he didn't go through the same process that a lot of other heroes do, going through the, like, the fitness exam and everything like that. He basically was just handed the position of an S-rank hero, like, right away. You know, so they don't really know anything about his physical strength or lack thereof, or his mental strength, or what he's into, or anything like that. He was just given this rank as an S-rank hero and considered the world's strongest man because all these monsters were destroyed around him. Now, that doesn't mean that King does not have an ability. Oh, King does have an ability. He's technically got two, actually. I guess three if you want to include his master video game powers, you know. But King has two abilities, and they basically come down to a tremendous amount of luck, just a redonkulous amount of luck, and they also come into the form of, I guess, intimidation, or I guess he has the ability to make anyone around him believe the bullshit that he spews out of his mouth. I guess would be another way of looking at that. So those are his, like, two main abilities. Luck, in the sense that the universe itself just seems to cater to him. Like, even in a situation where he's not aware that anything's going on, everything still works out in his favor. You know, like, there was a side chapter also. It was called King's Day Off. Where King is just chilling out at a maid cafe, and he's just sitting back there typing on his computer, basically writing like a video game script or something like that. And he doesn't know that there are like 7 or 8 assassins in the cafe, all at strategic points, you know, posing as customers, waiting to jump and kill him. And they have this massive plan they've been working on for weeks, trying to kill one of the strongest, the strongest as far as they're concerned, heroes in the world, right? And he has no idea what's going on, and he never did. Even after he talked them down and got them all to leave out of fear of being killed, he still had no idea what was going on. It's just that every little moment, every single thing that occurred in the cafe was all focused on, like, tremendous amount of luck on King's part. Like, the assassins are getting ready to jump him, and King, at that moment, he's typing out his script, and he starts to speak what he's typing out loud, like what his character's saying, like he's typing, he's like, "You guys think that you got me surrounded, don't you? But let me tell you, you've already lost." That very, very stereotypical anime line. "Let me tell you right now, Sasuke, you've already lost." Oh, you know. So they hear that and they're like, whoa, shouldn't we attack? We shouldn't attack, huh? He gets up to get like a freaking refill on his soda, and they're like, "What's he doing?" He's talking to the waitress, like, "Excuse me, ma'am, I need to get more soda. Can you please refill this?" And he's like, "Oh, he's sending her to the back so she's out of harm's way, so when he attacks us all." You know, there's one guy that literally just walks straight up to King, puts his hand in his jacket, ready to pull out a gun and just blow his head off. King thinks he's a fan, thinks he's reaching for a pen, grabs his arm, and he's just like, "Don't do it. Trust me." And the guy's like, okay. And he just leaves. So that's how he gets out of the situation. That's how he gets out of every situation. So that's a superpower. I don't care. That is a superpower. And the other superpower he has, the ability to just have everyone believe his nonsense. Okay, so every little moment, every little thing that he does, even if he's not trying to be intimidating, is perceived that way. So there's this thing called the King's Engine, which is basically his heartbeat. He's a very nervous guy. He's not a fighter. He's a nerd. All right, he's used to staying at home all day and playing around on video games. That's what he does, right? So, and watching freaking anime. Probably, King would probably be a fan of Lucky Star, I would assume. Oh my god, there's CDs in here. There's freaking CDs in here. I know what I'm doing tonight. But anyway, yeah, he has this, he's very nervous, so his heart beats really fast. And anybody else would, like, they can hear it, so they would think, oh man, that guy's really nervous. But no, from his astounding public and the monsters that try to attack him, they interpret it as this bloodlust made manifest in sound form. That whenever you approach him, if you start hearing that, like, boom, 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 it's like, oh, I'm gonna die, it's the King's engine. So it's things like that. And also, he started to kind of believe it as well. After he figured out what was going on, after the money started rolling in, even though he still kind of lives in a dinky apartment. He has all this money as an S-class hero. He's reported as the greatest hero ever, and yet he still lives in a dinky little tiny apartment. I'm like, okay, King, whatever. I mean, to each his own. Yeah, he starts to figure out what's going on here, so he starts to kind of use it to his advantage, right? So whenever he sees a monster coming at him, he'll usually bluff, and he'll be like, do you even know who I am? And that'll usually be enough to make them run away, and they hear the King's engine. If that doesn't work, he'll do something a little bit more specific. He'll say something like, he could literally spew nonsense, and it would be enough. He's like, you do realize it's the second Wednesday of the month, and therefore the orbital waddle of Saturn is out of sync with the rest of the cosmic forces. So if you fight me, your hypothalamus will explode within 10 milliseconds. He could spew nonsense like that literally means nothing. But that would be enough to terrify his opponent enough to get them to run away. Except if it's a giant robot. That seems to be the one. Well, even in that case, the luck aspect still carries over. Even when he does meet an opponent where the bluffs don't work, whether they're just too strong, or whether it's like a robot or something, luck in the universe is still on King's side. So this robot G4, which is this giant mechanical knight with like a huge, F-off Buster Sword, comes rocking out at King. And, you gotta give King credit. Despite being this really nervous, otaku, he's still able to keep his composure relatively well in public. He has the heartbeat, but whenever, I don't know, but if a giant robot, like if I'm working at Dollar Tree, probably not in this shirt, and like a giant robot breaks through the wall and points a sword at me, I'm not gonna be as composed as King was in that scene. His hat flies off and he's just like, whatever, okay? But he tries the gimmicks with the robot, it's not working, so he's like, alright, but let me use the John. I fight at half power when I have to go, and so the robot's like, I will give you 10 minutes, but then I will begin to massacre everybody. So King does the logical thing in that situation and runs the hell out of there. He's like, oh god, I don't want to die. But even in that situation, everything works out because Genos and Saitama were right there. And Genos, fights against G4 and wins. And even if he didn't, Saitama was there too. In fact, every other time, King had an encounter with Garo recently in the manga. And Saitama was with him. So even though Garo jumps at King to attack him right off the bat, Saitama's right there. So once again, it's like the universe helping this guy out, right? King is not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He's not like I'm gonna manipulate the Hero Association. Whoa, no. It's just that he's not a people person. He's very he's very introverted, so he's not gonna be the kind of guy that's gonna come out and say these things. I mean, he's not proud about what happened, and he probably does want Saitama to take the credit and everything like that, but it's just he's too meek. He's not extroverted enough to really speak up and say these kind of things to the people around him. But he is getting better. He's getting like more friends and things, because Saitama, all he wants is a bud to hang out with and play video games and whatever. So that's some comedy moments that come from their little dynamic there. He's basically become part of the main cast, and I really do find him hilarious. I find him very entertaining. I gotta talk about now the absolute funniest scene about King. And by the way, part of the reason I do like him so much is how I was just taken off guard by that twist. I don't know if you guys saw that coming, but I didn't see that coming. Now, it's not like King was really established a lot before that. Like, he was established during the alien attack on City A. That's when he was mentioned as being the strongest hero. We get to see him very briefly, but he wasn't set up that much before that. But even with that lack of setup, that was still a really big shocker for me. I'm like, I'm gonna like this guy. But the funniest scene, I gotta talk about, it's in the webcomic, okay? When they're fighting against the Monster Association, and so City Z gets leveled, Tatsumaki basically destroys the entire hideout, and there's just rubble everywhere. All these dragon-level threats are rocking out. You got Black Sperm, you got Evil Natural Water, you got Fuhrer Ugly, you got Gums. You got Gums, you got freaking Homeless Emperor there with his magical light powers. All these dragon level threats that could literally kill King in a fraction of a hundredth of a second if they wanted to, you know, if they really did want to. And then you have all the S-class heroes wiped out, just destroyed. Saitama's not on the scene yet. Fubuki is kind of conscious, but that's like all you got to work with there. And Child Emperor I think is there too, but there's like nothing he can do. And then you have King, who's standing there alone against all these dragon-level threats, okay? And he's just sitting there on the rubble, and once again, he's keeping his composure, right? And then right when he's keeping his composure, you hear a narrator begin to speak about King and his abilities. And the narrator goes like this. He's like, he thought that he was just a normal human. He thought he was just this pretender, you know, faking his hero activities. But in reality, it turned out that he actually did have a latent power. And that latent power was on the same level as Saitama, who he looked up to so much. Now, King had an ability that he just invented. It's the King's Hellfire Wave Motion Cannon or something. Like, that's the name of his attack. And then Shout Emperor's like, we need you to use that technique. And King's like, yeah, it takes a little while to charge it, but yeah, I could totally do that. So the narrator says that he actually does have this ability. We found out. And you see this scene where he clasps his hand together. He's like, King Hellfire Wave Motion Cannon! And this giant laser shoots out. And you're sitting there reading this like, holy crap, he really was. I mean, you were great, weren't you? And it was all in his head. It was all just him daydreaming, and King was the one narrating that whole thing. So to put this in perspective, King is staring down a bunch of over S-class. I mean, there's dragon-level threats here that wipe the floor with S-rank heroes, and he just starts mumbling to himself. He's like, King thought that he was really weak, but in reality, he had the ability that could defeat them all. The ability that rivaled the powers of Saitama. And he's just imagining him doing the wave mode. Man, that shit was funny. That was great. That was beautiful. And the funny thing is, even after that, the dragon level threats are all like, we better not attack him, you know, we better not go after him hastily. You know, is he mumbling out? He might be mumbling a curse on us, you know? And King's like, watch where you step. And then Homeless Emperor's like, wait, what? Oh, huh? It's great. It's just great. I love King. He's shown up a little bit since then. We haven't really got much of King since then. That was like his last big shining moment. Eventually, by the way, Fubuki shows up and kind of takes the handle out away from King. But King was able to stall and distract like 5 dragon level threats for longer than a normal human really should have. Okay, so that's really the great thing about King. And I hope to see more of him in the future. And I don't think, I wouldn't want King to reveal, like, he really does have some kind of crazy power outside of the whole luck and intimidation thing. Oh yeah, no, there was the scene with the apple. I mentioned that in the last one, kind of, in Atomic Samurai's video, but I'll bring it up here. So there was a scene, yeah, when Atomic Samurai, he's trying to figure out if he's really strong or where he sits, where he's standing and everything. So he meets King in this cafe, just by happen chance, and he's like, cut this apple, because if you cut this apple, then I'll be able to tell you, I'll be able to figure out, like, what you've been through, what your experiences are. And the thing about King is that he's so unremarkably weak, even weaker than an average human, he can't even unsheath Atomic Samurai's sword. So he's just sitting there for like 2 minutes, like, not doing anything, and then he just sets the sword down and then just walks away. And instead of Atomic Samurai being like, you know, oh, he's a fake, he's a fraud, it was just like, oh, he cut the apple so fast, it passed through the molecules, and the apple doesn't even realize it's been cut! I already mentioned that before, but yeah, that was another big funny moment with King there that we just got. So, yeah. So, thanks for watching. Next video is probably going to be, man, I have the props all ready to go. Next video has to be Metal Bat now. Yeah, I think next video will be Metal Bat. After that, I don't know, maybe Drive Night. Drive Night's cool. Got a problem with Drive Night? He only showed up in like 2 scenes. Whatever. Drive Knight's freaking cool. He has a magical transforming box. It's like the Doctor, except, you know, instead of time travel, it's an energy beam of pure, like, heat that'll cut down a bunch of monsters at once. But it's still pretty cool. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. And give in to your inner otaku this evening. Here's my homework assignment to you guys. Watch the most weeby anime you can possibly get your hands on. For me, it's probably going to be either Lucky Star or probably the OVA of Kobayashi was released, I think, a day ago. I haven't seen that yet, so I might go watch that. Yeah, while wearing my Lucky Star schoolgirl t-shirt and playing some Pokken Tournament DX. I'm gonna otaku out tonight. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Signing out.